It's a hot, hot fall for PlayStation, and we're here to explore it together. Hi, I'm Nick, and this is Required Reading on Retro Games with Nick. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Required Reading, the show where we just read through the issue of an old magazine. In this case, we are continuing sort of our throughway through the years with issue number 2 of PSM PlayStation Magazine. The cover date for this particular issue is October 1997, right? So, as I mentioned, it's a very hot fall. Final Fantasy VII just came out on September 7th. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is up next. And we have some hot previews, including Metal Gear Solid, to look forward to as well. Alright, let's get right into the issue. I played through Disney's Hercules action game, and it's hard. I made it all the way to the first boss, the Centaur, before deciding that, no, I don't really want to play more of this. It's a little too hard and too mean for me. Final Fantasy VII. Someone please get the guys who make cartridge games a cigarette and a blindfold. Jesus Christ. Possibly the greatest game ever made is available only on PlayStation. Good thing if it were available in cartridge, it'd retail for around $1,200. That's funny. That's what video game ads were back in the 90s and early aughts, huh? Where are the original games? Right here on PlayStation. You may not realize it, but this is a very special month for PlayStation fans. Why? Because Parappa the Rapper is finally out in the US. Now, I know by now you've heard over and over about how much we love this game here at PSM, and maybe you already decided that you aren't just interested. However, you're missing the real point. What got us so excited is that a big company like Sony would even take a chance on a game like this in the first place. Gamers complain that there aren't enough new varieties of games, but developers keep churning out the same old rehearsed stuff. But stop and take a look around. PlayStation is quickly becoming the place for daring developers to try out new ideas. Take, for example, games like Carnage Heart, Aquanaut's Holiday, and Tecmo's upcoming Monster Rancher, which lets you use your own music CDs to generate the creatures. And in Japan, even more new types of games are on the way, such as Baby Universe, a kind of music kaleidoscope generator. Also, several new life simulation games have sprung up as a result of the Tamagotchi craze. Just think, we didn't have any of these types of games before PlayStation. But all this means is that in the years ahead, gaming will thrive because Sony is interested in exploring new ideas and expanding in the video game realm to new places. As a video gamer for life, I couldn't be happier that I have these new experiences to look forward to. And as a PlayStation fan, I couldn't be more proud that Sony will be the company making it happen. Because they forgot the hyphen, which got me confused for a second. This month's cover, it was fantasy sci-fi painter Luis Royo captured the world of Castlevania. Alright. An ad for Tomb Raider 2. The second coming slated for this fall. Again, the vibe of these, right? A guy obsessed with Lara Croft having a full shrine for it in his apartment. Because all I see every time I close my eyes. It is such a fucking good ad. Excuse me. Alright. Monitor, the series of news, topics, and 32-bit culture. Sony unleashes the dual analog pad. The PlayStation revolution is about to begin. The Sony dual analog pad is finally out. The $29.99 pad. Oh my god. I love controllers so much more when they were so much dumber and so much cheaper. Like, a fucking new PS5 controller or Switch 2 Pro controller is like $80 these days. The $29.99 pad closely resembles Sony's standard controller, but with a few significant differences. First off, it's much wider and a little bit heavier. The L2 and R2 buttons are now larger, and they have been lowered to make them easier to reach. Located just below the select and start buttons are the two analog joysticks, which can also operate as additional L3 and R3 by pressing the sticks into the pad. 3 game modes are available, which you can select via the digital analog LED button on the face of the unit. Digital is the default and allows compatibility with non-analog games. Analog mode, of course, lets you use the pad's dual joystick. The final mode is for games that were designed for the Sony analog flight stick. A fatal flaw. The only real drawback about the US pad is that it won't have the vibrational feedback that its Japanese counterpart does. Sony was forced to remove it due to the fact that it infringed on the technology patent. This omission is extremely unfortunate as feedback adds a whole new level of interaction to the gameplay. And the developers will continue to include feedback support in their products though. This is due to the fact that their games will appear in both overseas and domestic markets. Sure, US gamers are getting the short end of the stick, but there is still hope. Sony has assured PSM that it is working hard on a solution that it will eventually release a US controller with the feedback intact. However, this probably won't be until sometime next year at the earliest. Regardless, the analog pad is still the best peripheral out there, and PlayStation owners should definitely run out and pick one up. In fact, certain companies already, depending on the success of the Sony's pad, Interact, one of the largest producers of PlayStation-compatible controllers, is planning to release a dual analog pad of its own. Dubbed the Barracuda, it will take all features of Sony's pad and include some extras such as auto-fire. You can read more about it in this month's peripheral feature. The next PlayStation standard. One of the most noted problems with releasing a new peripheral is convincing developers to support it. There's kind of a catch-22 at work in that companies won't design their games around the product if it doesn't have a good user base, and the product won't sell if no games support it. However, Sony has worked hard on optimizing the analog code, so adding it to a game is relatively simple. Numerous titles are already appearing that take advantage of the controller, and by the end of the year, virtually every release game will support it one way or another. In fact, since programming for the pad is so straightforward, companies are able to find some truly innovative ways to use the various features. So why did you actually get the DualShock? Because, the Nintendo got the patent for the vibration. They got around the patent, I think. Oh, okay. So the dual analog controller in Japan released with the shock. That's different from the DualShock because the DualShock has 2 motors for vibration feedback, and I bet that's how they got around the Nintendo 64 patent. Yeah, that's probably what they did to figure it out. All right. Parappa finally makes his US debut. The wackiest game yet is about to bust into the US gaming scene. Parappa the Rapper is the coolest hip-hop hero ever to grace a console system, and thanks to Sony, he'll be rapping his way onto the PlayStation. You play the role of Parappa as he challenges the skills of various master rappers in Simon Says-style gameplay. Within the game's 6 levels, you will encounter a variety of interesting characters, including PJ Barry, the DJing bear, Chop Chop Master Onion, the wise old vegetable karate master, and Joe Chin, the antagonist of the game. Sony was at first reluctant to release this title, but it has now decided to take a chance on what is certainly going to be one of the coolest games of the year. PSM, for one, is glad that Parappa is finally getting his due, and we hope that US gamers will enjoy the game as much as we have. We even included a strategy guide in this issue to help you out. In Japan, Parappa has long been an enormous success with over I assume it's going to be 700,000 units sold. They're at 7,000 units sold, which would be 7 million, but I think there's just an extra zero. They just can't seem to get enough of the hip-hop dog and his zany raps. In fact, work has already begun on the sequel. While details are sketchy, most of the characters from the first game should be returning. As for new features, one can only guess. Will there be a 2-player split-screen mode where gamers can challenge each other's raps? Will Parappa finally go face-to-face with Joe Chin with only a Mac in hand? Your guess is as good as ours, but you can be sure that as soon as concrete details are revealed, PSM will be there for the scoop. In the meantime, do yourself a favor and give Parappa a chance. You'll be hooked. Maxing out the pad. While most of the upcoming titles will be compatible with the Sony DualShock Dual Analog Pad, some developers are really going above and beyond and take advantage of the pad's features. Shiny's Fly-by-Wire is one such game. Using the analog pad like a handheld remote control, you will be able to fly a remote control plane around the virtual world. While the game is still in development, it does provide an example of the creative ways developers can use the pad. Here are a few other games that use the controller in new and unique ways. Porsche Challenge. Developed by Sony of Europe, Porsche Challenge is the first racing game to use both of the pad's analog joysticks. The left joystick is used for left and right analog steering, much like in Rallycross. The right joystick is used for both gas and braking. Gamers will no longer have to use 2 separate buttons for these commands. Simply push forward to accelerate and pull back to brake. My friend Ludovico swore by that control scheme for Gran Turismo. I have never understood it. There's just something in my brain. I get that because it's analog, you get more control. There's something about the braking being tilting it down that breaks my brain. Tobal 2. Square has always been on the forefront of technology, and its games are a testament to that fact. So it should come as no surprise that its latest fighting game, Tobal 2, makes full use of the dual analog pad. Since the analog joysticks can also function as L3 and R3 buttons, they are used to execute certain special moves, like fireballs. Croc, Legend of the Gobos. The major problem in most 3D exploration games is that it's pretty difficult to control the camera. Movement always occurs when you are simply frustrated because you can't see exactly where you're supposed to. Well, Fox Interactive's Croc is using the analog pad in an attempt to alleviate the problem. While movement as the lead character is provided by the left analog stick, the right stick functions as a camera control. Can't see a jump clearly? Simply maneuver the camera around until you can. It's nice to see innovations like this starting to pop up. Let's hope they continue as more and more gamers get used to analog controls. Problem with it is that Croc movement is tank controls. So, it's the right stick. You don't really want to use the left stick for that. You just don't. But yeah, props to Nintendo for creating the analog stick in a way that everybody ended up using. Props to Sony for realizing that you really fucking need two. One for to control your movements, one to control the camera. Here are a few other notes of interest, including the latest up-to-the-minute information on everything PlayStation. I might need to actually enhance this a little bit because it's kind of tiny. Can I make this magnifying glass a little bit bigger? No. Okay. Westwood Studios is currently working on its latest Command & Conquer sequel, titled CNC Commando. It will feature more action-based gameplay than its predecessors. Look for the game to hit the PlayStation late next year. RPG fans can now rejoice, as Working Designs has finally officially announced that it will be porting over Alundra. The game has already become a major success overseas, and looks to do the same here in the US. Shame that they ruined it with their shit-ass localization effort, making all enemies have 3 times as much HP. God, Working Designs. I appreciate that they were porting games that other people wouldn't, but to curb the rental market, they really fucked them up so bad. Current PlayStation sales have reached 17.6 million worldwide, which is good news for Sony. The trends to continue, then a user base of over 22 million units could be possible by the end of the year. Due to the strong PlayStation sales, Sony 1997's first quarter profits have more than doubled from last year's figures. Predictions of the company's year-end profits at $1.42 billion. Wow! Hudson is now preparing for the release of its first PlayStation title. No, it's not a Bomberman game as most would expect. Rather, it's a fighting game by the name of Bloody Roar Hyper Beast Duel. Gameplay is very reminiscent of Virtua Fighter, and the characters will be able to morph into beasts. Look for a US release. While Crystal Dynamics has already developed and published its own games, it has had to rely on other companies for distribution. Midway is its latest partner and will handle the distribution of Gex 2 and Pandemonium 2 later this year. Philips has developed a new video game display unit called Scuba. Worn like a VR helmet, it contains an LCD screen and stereo speakers. However, with a hefty price tag of $300, only the rich or truly dedicated need apply. Gang game fans may have to be a little bit more patient as Namco's Time Crisis has been delayed another month. This is due to high manufacturing demands of the included gun. Look for an October release and an MSRP of $59.99. Contrary to popular belief, the latest PlayStation models can have anti-territorial chip added to play Japanese games. It was first thought that the addition of the cooling plate in the hardware prevented this procedure. I might as well continue reading the notes because I need the magnifying glass for that. The latest NBA Jam from Acclaim will feature 5-on-5 gameplay, which is a first for the popular series. Stephon Marbury of the Minnesota Timberwolves has been hired for the game's motion capture. Unfortunately, Tecmo has delayed the home versions of Dead or Alive, a popular arcade fighting game based on Sega's Model 2 technology. No new release date has been established, but a first quarter 98 timeframe seems probable. Men in Black, the hit summer film, will soon become a PlayStation title. Insiders have revealed the gameplay will look a lot like Resident Evil. Vancouver-based Mainframe Entertainment Inc., makers of such popular cartoons as Reboot and Beast Wars, is using its talents for a new animated series based on Chinese latest shooter MDK. Look for the series to air in the fall of '98. Sony is soon expected to pick up the publishing rights to such European titles as Rapid Racer, a speedboat racing game, and Medieval, a 3D horror action game. Both titles may have a shot at hitting stores in time for the Christmas season. GT Interactive officially announced the purchase of developer Single Track. Known for its creating such popular PlayStation titles as Twisted Metal and Jet Moto, Single Track is showing interest in producing titles for other platforms such as the PC. The lead designers of Gex Enter the Gecko, Daniel Ari, has departed Crystal Dynamics and has signed on with Naughty Dog. He will assist in adding the finishing touches to Crash Bandicoot 2 before continuing on with newer projects. In other Westwood news, the PlayStation version of Red Alert will indeed feature a skirmish mode. You and 3 other AI players will be able to duke it out in 24 different maps. It looks like the PlayStation mouse will also be supported. Yeah, like anyone actually owns the mouse. Congratulations to our very own Bill Perry's son, who recently popped the question to the lovely Regina Villaflor, his girlfriend of 3.5 years. Surprisingly, she said yes. The two will tie the knot on August 15th, next year. Oh, not what I meant to do. Square in charge. Will Final Fantasy VII pave the way for more US RPGs? I'm gonna cut it right there. The answer is yes. The PlayStation in its later years will definitely be known as the Japanese RPG machine. But let's read the article or the news bit just in case. Role-playing games have always been popular in Japan and have long become a staple part of that society. Even with dozens of titles released each month, the millions of hardcore gamers can't seem to get enough of this ever-growing genre. In the US, the story is a bit different. In the late 1980s, most companies felt it was simply not a large enough market for RPGs. Square managed to prove all them wrong with the release of the first Final Fantasy game, which was received with much acclaim. Throughout the 8 and 16-bit eras, a total of 3 Final Fantasy titles were released, and each was extremely successful. More and more companies then jumped on the bandwagon. Finally, a steady stream of RPGs started flowing for fans to enjoy. Then unfortunately, the 32-bit consoles came. When the PlayStation was first released, there were simply no RPGs to be seen. Even now, 2 years after the PlayStation's launch, very few titles have been released. Once again, companies feel role-playing games have a small market, and once again, it is up to Square to prove them wrong. But at this time, Square will simply not be content to release a game that only RPG fans will enjoy, and wants to bring the genre to a more mainstream audience. Square developed Final Fantasy VII with that focus in mind. Over 100 people toiled away for almost 2 years to create the RPG to end all RPGs. Not only does it have all the elements fans of the genre love, it also has the action and flashy arcade sequences that should interest the typical gamer. Sony is aware of this and is promoting the game to its fullest. In-store campaigns and television spots are everywhere. The goal is to make sure that every PlayStation owner is at least aware of the title, and it looks like it's paying off. Virtually every gamer is anxious for the September release date. Early predictions say that Final Fantasy VII could sell up to 1 million units, with several 100,000 being sold in the first couple of days. Hopefully, FF7 will become as successful as most people predict, so more companies will be willing to bring their RPGs over to the US market. Working Design already announced that it will be bringing Alundra over. Square is eager to release Final Fantasy Tactics and Saga Frontier as well. If this trend continues, RPGs might once again get their due. All thanks to a little company by the name of Square. Square left beyond Final Fantasy. While Square's main focus has always been role-playing games, it's constantly bringing its skills and expertise to other gaming genres. You already know about Tobal 2 and Bushido Blade, two titles that have revolutionized the fighting game genre. Well, Square is only getting started. A few other upcoming titles are looking to do some revolutionizing as well. Einhander. One of the most unique shooters to appear on the PlayStation, Einhander lets you control a space pod with no weapons, just a single robotic arm. Gamers will have to use the arm to steal missiles and bombs from other enemy ships. Front Mission Alternative. A derivative from the standard Front Mission series, Front Mission Alternative will feature some of the same real-time combat elements combined with new mission-based gameplay. Prepare your squad of mechs at the battle camp, then send them out to do battle. Front Mission Second. The sequel to the mech-based strategy game of the same name, Front Mission Second uses a 3D isometric view for the battles and a turn-based style of combat. Like Alternative, you control a squadron of mech soldiers, while in this time strategy is a more crucial part of the game. Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve is an RPG based on popular Japanese science fiction novel that happens to be set in Manhattan. You play the role of Aya Brea, a heroic policewoman trying to stop the evil goals of a woman called Eve. The game's graphical engine is similar to that used in Final Fantasy VII. Net Heroes update. Your monthly source for the latest Heroes news and reviews. Welcome to this month's update on the Net Heroes system. We'll be covering a useful product for Heroes owners as well as a cool exploration game from Japan. So let's get started. So in case you're not aware, Sony used to sell a development kit, a PlayStation development kit, essentially. It cost $750, and you could basically, it came with basically a Sony PlayStation, but you also had some accessories that let you connect it to a PC and run programs from the PC. So you could code your own game, transfer the graphic assets into PlayStation compatible formats, and really create something that you could distribute. A graphical development kit for the Net Heroes. For those programmers sick of the standard command line development tools that come with the Heroes, MetroWorks has released Code Warrior for the Net Heroes. Based on a graphical development environment, Code Warrior provides developers with a more robust interface, all the standard tools and compilers, and C and C++ they will need. MetroWorks already included Macintosh tools, so programming is no longer limited to a PC. If you're serious about designing games, then Code Warrior is a must-buy. Retail price $299. Jeez. I guess if you're already spending $750 on having one of these things, you might as well have the money to throw at these extra things too. That still feels so expensive. I guess it's a textbook, right? So that's what textbook costs, but shit. Title, Super Mansion, programmer Sato. Type 3D exploration. One of the premier titles in Sony Heroes collections, this month's featured game is certainly a blast from the past. Super Mansion has a lot in common with such classic games as Alone in the Dark and Resident Evil. While the game tends to downplay the horror aspects of its predecessors, it does focus on puzzle-oriented gameplay. Set in a true 3D polygonal mansion, Super Mansion requires you to make your way through each room, looking for keys that will unlock other parts of the house. You can also find other items such as papers that help shed light on your character's mysterious background. You'll eventually be carrying quite a number of items, which are fortunately stored in an easy-to-use inventory menu. Need something in particular? Just pop up the menu, select the item, and you're ready to go. Needless to say, this game is huge. Super Mansion has tons of rooms to explore, ranging from libraries to bedrooms, and each must be searched for any clues they might offer. Sadly, no map feature is present, so you'll probably want to draw out your own blueprint of the mansion to avoid getting lost. Yarazze Curious? For those of you interested in purchasing a Yarazze system, be sure to visit the official NetYarazze site. Simply fill out its handy form and you'll be sent more information via email. Here's the URL. If you already own a Yarazze, you may find some of these sites useful. Slowly but surely, more and more fan-based Yarazze sites are showing up. Not only do they provide the latest news and gossip, they also give programmers a place to get together and share their ideas. These sites are an extremely valuable resource and shouldn't be overlooked. Next month, PSM will be picking out the more popular sites and reviewing them for our Yarazze readers. See you in 30. Gossip. You want more than just the latest headlines. You want the dirt, the inside scoop on what's really going on with the PlayStation. Well, look no further because PSM always has its ear to the wall. Final Fantasy toys coming. They're small, they're cute, they're plastic, and they may be coming to the US. Fans in Japan have been enjoying Final Fantasy VII action figures for some time now, and it looks like US fans will have them shortly as well. Bandai is supposedly going to manufacture the Final Fantasy VII plastic figures and toys destined for domestic stores. They're expected to be released in time for this Christmas. Price points for the toys are not yet known, but are expected to be reasonable. Bandai has traditionally done well in the toy business, making figures and other items from well-known licenses. The Final Fantasy license would be among the first PlayStation properties to make this leap to the US. Final Fantasy VIII to begin development. The next fantastic adventure is about to begin. While it is likely to be considered a video game the next game in the Final Fantasy series is being prepared for development. According to sources at Square, brainstorming sessions should be beginning shortly in Japan and at Square's new offices in Hawaii. Full-scale development is slated to begin shortly after the new year. Many of the top designers from Square Japan are already beginning to move their families to Hawaii, as the project is expected to be in development for the better part of 2 years. Details about the game are unknown, nor is there any set release date as of yet. More news as we hear it. Was the Hawaii branch for Final Fantasy VIII? Or was it starting work on the Spirits Within? Square Enix Hawaii. Fun comment on Reddit. I was classmates with Hironobu Sakaguchi's kid. He invited us to the studio when we were in first grade or something. We were really young, so memory is hazy. I remember him showing us game trailers and them giving us a book of game art. I just remember the chocobos. Then for some reason they showed us the trailer for their Spirits Within. Seeing people's souls ripped out of their bodies as a small child is so traumatizing that I still remember it decades later. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Square Enix Honolulu it was not gonna be about Final Fantasy VIII. It was gonna be about Final Fantasy IX and the Spirits Within. Which, makes sense. These things have long development cycles, even back then. But Cloud will definitely not return in Final Fantasy VIII. New Square Fighter coming to PlayStation. Square and Namco are teaming up to bring a new fighter to the arcade and to the PlayStation. A few months ago, news filtered out of Japan that the two companies will be working on a new arcade project. According to sources at Namco, the company was particularly impressed with Square's mini-games in Final Fantasy VII. For several weeks, details were scarce regarding the new game. New information has revealed that the game's name will be Argites. God bless the ring. I added that part. And that it will be built using Namco System 12 board, the same board used for Tekken 3. The game's control mechanism will use 3 buttons, similar to Virtua Fighter series, and the rings will feature various terrain and elevations, also like Virtua Fighter 3. Despite these similarities to Sega's major fighter, Argites will supposedly have completely different fighting mechanics. As Tekken 3 is nearing completion for the PlayStation, with a somewhat difficult transition over from System 12, rumors have indicated that Argites will eventually be making a PlayStation appearance as well. We have heard no word regarding an approximate timeframe for the game's release. Irregardless, PlayStation owners should be pleased with Square's emergence into the arcade, which will only mean more great games for the PlayStation. Rumor Smasher, where we put false rumors to rest once and for all. Sony says, no modem for you. Despite rumors to the contrary, Sony still contends it won't be released a modem for the PlayStation. While many companies are betting their futures on the internet, and Sega, Matsushita, Apple, Bandai, and other major players are adopting a set-top box strategy, Sony has been characteristically coy about its internet plans. For months, rumors have been doing the rounds regarding a PlayStation modem that would provide almost identical functionality as the Sega Netlink. PSM has learned that Planet Web, the company that makes the web browser for Sega's Netlink in the US, has held high-level talks with Sony about the possibility of such an option. Finally, news filtering out of Sony itself had hinted that it will be announcing some sort of strategy at the Tokyo Game Show. Unfortunately for consumers, Sony is basing its decisions on the abysmal performance of both Netlink and its own link-up cable, as well as on the state of the set-top box market in general. Company decision makers have come to the conclusion that the internet is simply a facet of the market that is not mature enough to exploit just yet. As a result, Sony has time and time again denied that it will be bringing a modem for the PlayStation. Sources have indicated the company is not going to try anything in the internet realm until at least its next generation of hardware. It looks like consumers are going to have to wait until at least 1999 before they will be surfing the web and playing online games on their PlayStation 2s. Good call. Games were simpler, but modems were also slower, and I don't know that online gaming would have been reasonable on the PlayStation until the PlayStation 2 released and DSL was out. Next up, the latest news and notes from the land of the rising sun, featuring our very own Bill Paris-san. This is Nihon Geimu O, and then this kanji means home. I don't know how you would read it. I don't know if you would read it as... I guess I don't see a kun reading, so it would probably be Taku? Oh, otaku. Nihon Geimu Otaku. Oh, is that how you spell otaku? No, otaku is just spelled out. There's not a kanji for otaku. Okay. Okay. Nihon Game Otaku. Welcome to Nihon Game Otaku. I trust that you are here to acquire Japanese import news, or perhaps to learn the water spider ninjutsu technique above. Are you ready, young one? I shall give you my best. Simulation fans were recently given a treat in form of Monster Farm. Tecmo Sim involves breeding monsters to fight. Beginners will start from E-Class, and each class can rise and rank with formal battles. Taking part in a match requires a year-long schedule. Since work and study activity can use up your physical strength, you must rest well before the match to be victorious. What's more, you can observe your rival's abilities and learn how you master abilities are lacking in comparison. Namco's 3D action game Kazuno Klonoa has adventure elements backed by a fantastic story, making for a great action game. Not lacking in the fantasy department, the original characters, words, and graphics will fascinate the player. It combines user-friendly 2D game handling with 3D graphics. There is no release date in Japan as of yet. The shooting game enjoyed in Japanese arcades, Gun Bullet, is now available for PlayStation. The PlayStation version has original modes like a special mode, party mode, and a quest mode. In the quest mode, your main target is to get the legendary Imitation Gun. Imitation Gun? Is that what it says? It's a little tiny, even on my big screen. I think that's what it says. Continue your investigation by collecting information and lots of items. The volume of goodies thrown in for good measure is beyond belief. The Tokyo Game Show Fair 97, held September 5th to 7th, showcased some of the hottest upcoming PlayStation titles, the most prominent being the arcade port of Tekken 3. Other notable titles included Metal Gear Solid, From Mission Alternative, From Mission 2, Einhander, Parasite Eve, Tales of Destiny, and Genso Suikoden 2. Total of 126 PlayStation titles were shown for the show, accounting for 43.3% of all titles shown. Square's Final Fantasy VII International will be released October 2nd in Japan. It will feature all of the new monsters and FMV sequences that were present in the US version. So Japan not only has the original Final Fantasy VII, but ours as well. Urayamashi, which I don't know what that means. Spotlight on Tenchu. Tenchu, Heaven's Punishment, is essentially Metal Gear Solid set in 16th century feudal Japan, and you are a ninja. Just one look at these screenshots will have period piece fans screaming for more. The screenshots only show the hero, Rikimaru, as shots of the heroine, Ayame, are yet unavailable. You can throw shuriken, throwing stars one by one, or all at once. The game also has Tetsubishi, caltrops, of course, but the main weapon of the ninja is the ninjato, ninja sword. During the game, you can stealthily slit someone's throat or use skills of secrecy practiced by the ninja known as ninjutsu. These include techniques like wearing disguises or walking on water with pontoon shoes known as the water spider. Moving along the edge of the walls and hiding in the shadows is fundamental for a ninja to ascertain their surroundings, so they can cautiously advance. This is also achieved by diving in a river and hiding out. Ninja can also avoid attacks by jumping from one roof beam to another over the heads of their enemies. Sugoi desu! At press time, only 30% of the game was developed, and we have no information concerning the storyline, but it's expected to be hot. The release date in Japan for the groundbreaking action game has not been announced. Choatsui, super hot. Bandai's Gundam the Battlemaster is very reminiscent of Capcom's arcade classic Cyberbots, with the exception that you can't create custom mecha. You can choose one of 10 Gundams, including the ZZ Gundam and the V Gundam. Your weapons include the trademark lightsaber-esque swords, axes, Zakutu and Sasbi only, laser gun, bazookas, fairy karate chops, as well as your standard punches and kicks. Gundams are also equipped with gravity-defying rocket packs. The game has been extremely popular in Japan, with the country sales totaling 66,450 at press time. Baby Universe is Sony's computer entertainment's first game in the 3D kaleidoscope genre. Using your control pad and with some musical help from a favorite CD for the soundscope mode, you control kaleidoscopic computer images on your monitor. Other modes include an electric scope and a psychedelic scope, as well as jewel case and console. You can manipulate a variety of shapes, prism, rings, cubes, etc., and you can also change the perspective of the shapes. The key to RPG success in Japan. While role-playing games are the most popular genre in the US, they rule in Japan. RPG titles in development far outweigh fighting games, and they have proven to be the most popular genre. Lately, big companies like Square aren't the only ones dominating RPGs, with its Saga Frontier, Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy Tactics efforts. SNK has already introduced the game Samurai Spirits True Legend of Furious Bushido, and Konami and Capcom will soon join the fray with Outer Life as Your Dreams, September 25th release, and Breath of Fire 3, September release, respectively. The most talked about RPGs in the Japanese home video game market are Namco's first RPG for the PlayStation, Tales of Destiny, to be released within 1997, and Sony's Linda Cube, Linda 3, no release date given yet. So why are RPGs video games so popular in Japan anyways? It's simple. Stories. Story more than action draws in Japanese players, along with subplots that don't take a few minutes to solve. In a country where children are pressured to study hard so they can get into the right elementary school, the right junior high school, the right college, and finally the right company, Japanese kids need a fantasy world with which they can escape. RPGs provide the means of escape. It also lets them think creatively to solve problems, something they learn by a rote memorization education system doesn't encourage. Interesting takes on Japanese culture. I mean, the whole pressure conveyor belt that they have is very much still real, I believe. Um, Also, greatly a racist country. That's just how they're built. Interesting, fascinating country. Would like to visit it sometime. Life simulations score big. This genre has been popularized with Bandai's Tamagotchi. Often referred to as virtual pets, these games are called ikusei in Japan, literally meaning rearing or raising. Ikusei are limited to Tamagotchi. PlayStation versions are available that are quite intricate with excellent graphics. Perhaps the first foray into the life simulation genre for the PlayStation was SCE of Japan's Gambare Morikawa-kun 2. Unlike real life, you can actually choose the personality of your pet in TV. In the first stage, you raise pets just as you would a human child. The second stage is a breeding garden world. In this world, Pit can start to put some of its training to the test, and you can help it. You can help if it fails. The final stage is the P zone. Pizza. Where you can observe the pit acting on its own. If the pit can't cut it, it's back to the drawing board. Derby Stallion ASCII is a super popular simulation title. More than 1 million copies were reserved before its release, which even beat the record set by Final Fantasy VII. This title involves buying, breeding, and racing horses. Everything April or May is horse mating season. You must choose carefully the right female horse for your stud to breed with. When the young horse starts nearing 3 years of age, it formally enters the stable. Depending on whether its lineage is short or long distance racer, you choose its stable accordingly. The horse receives its training upon entering the stable. The game involves horse auctions and eventually racing the horse. I believe, in comments correct me if I'm wrong, that horse racing is the only gambling activity that is legal in Japan. I believe. Which is why a lot of other things are either run underground by the Yakuza, or you have pachinko, which is... It's close enough to a game to not be considered full-on gambling, but even then, you don't play pachinko with actual money. You have to trade in money to get the balls, and then you trade back the balls for money. So there's a very weird way around it. But yeah, Derby Stallion looks like the most popular game this month in Japan. Everybody's Golf on the list too. Clock Tower: The First Sphere, which I believe is a remake of the first Clock Tower game. Alright, we have reached the reviews section. Let's see what we have. So as a reminder, what the ratings mean. 5 is a PlayStation classic that no fan should be without. 4 is a really well done game. If you're a fan of the genre, you should definitely check this one out. 3, a pretty good game. It has a share of rough spots, but some redeeming qualities as well. 2, maybe worth a quick look if you're a diehard fan of the genre, otherwise don't bother. 1, don't even make eye contact with this one. It's not worth a second of your time. If they actually stick to it, I like it. This is a good scale where you are supposed to use all parts of it. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Back in the early days of the NES, Castlevania was one of the classic games that helped define the action genre. Who could forget the long nights of whipping ghouls, collecting hearts, and blowing your top every time you lost to the Grim Reaper? A string of sequels followed, and now Castlevania has finally come to the PlayStation. After spending nearly 50 hours knee-deep in blood and bones, all I can say is, wow. The gameplay in Castlevania Symphony of the Night is best described as a perfect mix of Castlevania 2, Dracula's Curse, and Nintendo's Metroid series. Contained within Dracula's castle is a huge non-linear world to explore. Some RPG elements have been added, such as a player attribute stats, level ups, and tons of hidden items, and even a shop. The story also plays a bigger part than in previous Castlevania games. carried along with occasional voice acting and an FMV scene or two. Don't worry though, none of the new elements take anything away from what made the series such a hit in the first place. Castlevania is still all about fast-paced, blood-curdling action. From the perfectly moody soundtrack and beautiful gothic graphics, to the seemingly endless number of rooms and items, the game is top-notch stuff throughout. Even after you've beaten it, you'll keep coming back until you've found every item, learned every spell, uncovered every secret room, and seen every ending. The game is damn near perfect, and it just goes to show what you don't necessarily need the latest whiz-bang 3D graphics to kick some serious butt. The graphics are gothic beauty, the music sounds like a movie score, the concept is as good as ever. I'll play it until my eyes bleed. PSM final score, 5. One of the best video games ever, period. Hard to agree on this one. Very excited to play it for an hour later in this next week, or in 2 weeks in our 60 Minutes This Way episode. Bushido Blade. In feudal Japan, Bushido, the way of the warrior, was the code of chivalry that guided samurai warriors' actions. You must learn this code well if you hope to succeed in Bushido Blade. You choose from 6 characters as well as 6 weapons, and any character can use any weapon. Since it takes time to master each weapon, and some are better for some characters than others, the game has a lot of replay value, even in the short one-player mode. The combat system isn't like any other fighting game. Got are the usual power meters and time limits. In place of a totally accurate weapon combat simulation, fought across large 3D areas within an abandoned castle. Battles last until a mortal blow is landed. It could take 2 seconds or half an hour. This is really cool because it adds totally new strategies to the genre. Feints, runs, counter moves, knowledge of how each weapon works all become paramount to win when any move could be the last. Several non-lethal crippling blows could kill an arm or take out an opponent's legs, reducing him or her to fighting while kneeling down. Bushido Blade would have been a perfect fighting game except for one simple fact. It seems to have been rushed out a little too soon. No matter how much time is spent learning the game, battles still often rely on pure luck, which is extremely frustrating. The controls are also a bit sluggish, which is inexcusable for a game of this high caliber. Still, fighting fans should definitely check this game out, as it provides a much needed shot of adrenaline to a very tired genre. The graphics are second to none, the music isn't really applicable, the concept is truly unique. I'll play it until the sequel comes out. PSM final score 4.5 stars. The most innovative fighting game since Street Fighter. I think I'm gonna skip the graphics and the music, etc., because they're not really. If it were a small paragraph, I would read it, but if it's just one sentence, it's like, what's the point? And that's the thing about magazines around this time that I find very interesting, is that previews seem to have a lot more coverage than reviews. Like, even for PSM, I think for OPM as well, and for GamePro, previews are often multi-page spread, whereas reviews are 1 page or half a page or something like that, which is very interesting. I guess that this sort of shows that they were really meant to be hype machines more than consumer guides in a way, right? Clock Tower. In keeping with the Halloween vibe of October, ASCII's release of Clock Tower treats us to a bit of horror. The storyline revolves around an unsolved series of murders committed by the Scissor Man. The game takes place in a small town in the Netherlands, where a young girl and boy are the only survivors of the latest massacre. Players take on the role of central character to investigate a new string of Scissor Man murders. The point-and-click graphic adventure features a lot of searching for items and clues, which you'll use to solve puzzles and stay alive. The twist is that you never know when Scissor Man might jump out and cut you in half. If you ever thought to yourself during a horror movie, "Don't go there, you idiot, you're gonna get killed," then you get a kick out of this game. You make all the decisions about where you go, so if you don't end up dying, it's your own stupid fault. You play as one of 2 main characters and both have 5 unique and drastically different endings. Scissor Man has some great moments, but where real tension builds, and you're bound to be startled. The game should be played in the dark with surround sound to create the right atmosphere. It has quite a few slow points, but there is an equal amount of action where you're trying to escape with your life. The attempt at replay value was somewhat successful with the many different endings and secrets, but it's not enough to make this game a huge hit. If you're looking for a scary net for your PlayStation, Clock Tower will do it, but don't expect much more. PSM final score 3. Sometimes slim, but not without a good dose of chills. Croc, Legend of the Gobos. It's hard to argue that Croc doesn't bear a striking resemblance to Nintendo's Mario 64. They both have a lot in common: beautiful graphics, colorful 3D environments, and a cutesy lead character. All that is missing from Croc is a memorable theme song. With its platform jumping and level exploring elements, even the gameplay is identical. I have to stop myself there for a second because, no, hey, I played through Croc on the channel. I greatly enjoyed playing through Croc. Mario 64, it is not. It's lacking the transformative levels, it's lacking the setting, it's lacking the crisp controls. Let's be honest. This is a PlayStation magazine, so of course they will try to, stick their nose up of Sony's ass for all these things, but come on. Much like Lara Croft, Croc has more moves than you can shake a stick at. Jumping, swimming, running, and climbing are but a few of his abilities. Trust us when we say that you'll need to learn all of them if you hope to free your friends, the cute little gobos, from the clutches of the evil Baron Dante. More than 50 levels of gameplay are spread out over 4 huge islands: desert, forest, ice, and the secret island of Baron Dante, and each has its own unique look and feel. Gamers will spend months solving puzzles and finding all the secret areas. Some puzzles are as simple as merely activating a switch, while others require careful positioning of certain wooden crates. Although it looks like Croc has everything going for it, it also has its fair share of problems. The controls are in a state as they could be, so you must continually adjust what you are doing. The camera also leaves much to be desired as it constantly switches angles at inappropriate times. While the adjustable camera views help a little, it is still difficult to get your bearings sometimes. Luckily, the game supports Sony's analog controller, which helps smooth out some of these rough areas. Playing Croc is by no means a unique or original game. However, it did take the best elements of several games and combine them to make a fun and everlasting experience. Lasting experience. Not everlasting, that's a bit much. Gamers of all ages should will this one? Okay. PSM final score 4. A fun game for players of all ages. I also agree with it. Maybe more 3.5 than a full 4, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that's also from the perspective of having 100%ed it, so. Porsche Challenge. Porsche Challenge is the first racing title developed by Sony Computer Entertainment of Europe. With massive support from Porsche, the company's designers were responsible for supplying the data for the 3D modeling of the cars. It has the look and feel of a top-quality racer throughout. Graphically, the game is pretty impressive. Cars are extremely detailed and resemble their real-life counterparts in every way, except for the price tag, of course. You can race on 4 tracks ranging from Germany to Japan, and each features beautiful real-time lighting effects. As you win races, new routes become available on each of the courses, adding up to a potential total of 24 track variations. Sadly, all of the tracks suffer from severe pop-in problems. Entire buildings and bridges will suddenly jump into view, which is simply unforgivable. To increase the game's replay value, Sony made sure to include tons of options, including a practice mode, a championship mode, time trial, and a split-screen 2-player mode. For those who just want to jump straight into the race, Sony also provided an arcade mode. It is unfortunate, though, that the game features only one type of car, the Boxster. After all, the high point of most racing games is the variety of vehicles to choose from. Luckily, you can choose from a group of 6 different drivers, each having a unique driving style. This should at least provide a little bit of variety. Even with its faults, Porsche Challenge is a darn good racing game. It fully supports Sony Analog Controller, which makes driving simply a dream. The lack of multiple cars will certainly deter some gamers, but if you are into realistic driving experiences, this game might just surprise you. PSM final score 4. A good racing game that could have been great. 4 tracks, 24 track variations. I don't know what that means. I mean, I assume that you do them front and back, and maybe there's like pieces of them, but that seems, I don't know, seems a little lacking of content to deserve a 4 to me. But I don't think that's one we're gonna be checking on in 60 minutes this way. I'm not big on driving games in general, so that's not one that is calling to me. Syndicate Wars. Syndicate Wars deserves credit for giving players a shot at being the bad guys, for once. While other games focus on rescuing princesses, defeating villains, protecting small animals, and other vanilla acts of goodness, this title turns the tables and lets you embrace your own dark nature. You express this bad attitude as 4 highly trained cybernetic assassins. You send these military units on missions that can be accomplished in countless different ways. For instance, if the police are getting in the way, simply blow up the police station. Or if cover is needed, a crowd of innocent bystanders can be persuaded to act as a human shield. More squeamish gamers can accomplish missions through careful planning, covert actions, or diversionary tactics. This freedom of action is the game's best feature because of its variety of options. The strategy is incredibly deep. The Syndicate Wars is one of those rare games that gets better each time you play it. The game has a large variety of different cities to explore and all have been designed with the highest level of detail possible. Virtually every building can be destroyed, and vehicles such as ambulances and hover cars can be hijacked and driven. The computer AI is very realistic as well, so the citizens won't react until they are attacked or provoked in some manner. Unfortunately, the overall feel is greatly hampered by the PlayStation controller. When a title is developed for the PC, it generally takes advantage of both mouse and keyboard controls. The transition to a console pad simply doesn't offer the intuitive controls that lets you get quickly absorbed into the game's deep strategic elements. Fans of action-based strategy games will still get a kick out of Syndicate Wars, just be prepared to invest a bit of time learning how to play it. PSM final score, 3.5 stars. A great strategy game, but tough to pick it up. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. When first looking at Oddworld, gamers may compare it to such games as Prince of Persia or even Flashback. Well, they shouldn't, as Abe's Odyssey surpasses anything we've seen for a while. You play the role of Abe, a Mudcon slave, working in a meat factory called Rupture Farms. After finding out that your masters, the carnivorous Gluckons, are going to make your people the next meat product, you decide to escape. Unfortunately, the Gluckons have figured you out and are hot on your tail. You must free as many Mudcons as you can and get the hell out of there. Fortunately, Abe has some interesting abilities to help him out. First, he can control his enemies. By focusing his powers, Abe can transfer his conscience to another body and use it to his benefit. If you possess the body of a guard, you can walk around unnoticed. The other unique ability is a system called GameSpeak, which lets Abe communicate with his people. By using simple joypad commands, you can make Abe express himself. Say hello to a Mudcon, and you get his attention. Say follow me, and it will do so. Using these phrases, you'll have to direct the Mudcons to various warp gates located around Oddworld. It's through these gates that they will make their escape. Abe also has several abilities. He can run, climb, sneak, jump, and defuse bombs. Oddworld takes the best elements of 2D platformers and combines them with an interesting storyline, beautiful graphics, and puzzles that really make you think. The visuals are top-notch, and the secrets will certainly keep you coming back for more. PSM final score, 4.5 stars out of 5. A true leap forward to traditional 2D gaming. We played this last time around because OPM, Official PlayStation Magazine, had reviewed it. I was torn about it a little bit. Because I think that they are a little mean with... This is probably also an issue of mine. Is the... Well, the goal is to save all Mudcons, and you can accidentally kill them, and then what do you do? Well, I guess you reload and retry, right? Maybe other people would be fine having some casualties, but I'm like, well, I want to try to find everything and save everyone. And the things they ask you to do were a little too crazy for my taste. But it definitely looks good, is very original, and is a very unique product. So ultimately, I guess I do agree with the score. Parappa the Rapper. We'll never forget the day that we were first introduced to Parappa the Rapper here at PSM. We'd never heard of the game before and had no idea what to expect. For the first 5 or so minutes of play, all of us stared at the screen with blank faces, completely bewildered by what we were seeing. Then, as if being snapped awake from a trance, we began to laugh uncontrollably and fight over who was next in line to rap against the karate master with a huge onion for a head. People, this is insane, and this isn't healthy. This is Parappa, and it's a whole lot of fun. Try to convince many of today's action-hungry gamers to invest in a game that stars a cartoon dog who raps against an onion, moose, a frog, and a chicken, is a pretty hard sell. It ain't no picnic to describe the gameplay either. Still, we'll give it a try. It's kind of a memory game, only with the added element of rhythm. See, as your opponent raps to you, you've got to repeat his rap back to him, keeping the exact same rhythm. To repeat your opponent's lyrics, you've got to hit the corresponding buttons that appear on screen. Things Simon says. You don't have time to look at your controller, so you need to practice and learn instinctively which button is on your pad without looking. It sounds simple, but it can be tough. What really makes the game so unforgettable is its completely original presentation. The graphics are 3D, but the characters themselves are 2D. That is, the camera moves around and you can see them from all angles, but they're paper thin, so they're completely flat. The characters' design themselves are hilarious, and the storyline of Parappa's quest to win the affections of Sunny Funny, a flower, is told through insanely bizarre FMV sequences. At the heart of the game is music, and Parappa is chock full of songs and raps that are, at the same time, both completely ludicrous and hopelessly catchy. You'll find yourself muttering lyrics like, "Crack, crack, crack the egg in the bowl," about a zillion times a day, and probably freak out everyone around you. Again, because it's so different, Parappa can be a tough sell. In Japan, where it was released months ago, it's already become one of the best-selling PlayStation titles ever. They have weird tastes over there, though, so unfortunately it's hard to imagine the same thing happening over here. But no matter who you are and what types of game you normally play, you must at least give Parappa a try. Chances are, you'll get hooked. PSM final score, 5. This game is indescribable, but just give it a try and you'll be hooked for good. Warcraft 2. Warcraft 3 for the PC was one of the best and most popular video games in recent memory, so releasing a PlayStation translation was a logical choice. The key strength of the PlayStation version is the supremely balanced real-time strategy that made the PC title such a classic. Not only do players command epic battles, they must also focus on continued research and resource management. While gathering resources and upgrading units is great fun for many players, other gamers may find that the real meat of the game is in the battles. These skirmishes are fast-paced and offer frantic struggles with little time to think. Thankfully, expertly designed missions slowly build players' technical skills until they can take on even the greatest of threats with confidence. The deeply strategic elements in the game have been bolstered by colorful graphics and inventive sounds. The soundtrack particularly stands out above any other real-time strategy title, with music that inspires you on to victory. The characters have been talked back in absolutely hilarious responses to boot. However, like many other PC to console conversions, a simple joypad just can't offer the same diversity of control that the game was originally designed for. Consequently, even the most enjoyable parts of the game become frustrating. If you never had the chance to play Warcraft 2, don't pass it up, but prepare to be a little more frustrated with the control. PSM final score, 3.5 out of 5, a great game but with frustrating controls. NCAA Football 98. Anyone who has ever played Madden will instantly recognize the notorious slippery control and play. Of course, the college game has different playbooks, and they include the entertaining option plays. Every Division I school is featured, with correct home and away colors and replicas of their real stadiums. However, what really stands out about NCAA football is the Dynasty mode. You can now take over the reins of a college program for 4 years, going through the frustration of losing your seniors and the thrill of recruiting blue-chip players. The best part is that you can improve the skills of your current players by giving them more playing time. Thus, if there's no hope of making a bowl game, you can start giving playing time to younger players to build for next year. The amount of replay the Dynasty mode adds is incredible, and it's a feature that should be in all college sports games from now on. NCAA football is facing the same dilemma as Madden, because Sony is using its polygonal engine for NCAA Game Breaker as well. We've seen an early Game Breaker screenshot, and the graphics just blow away NCAA football. But EA's gameplay is solid, if unspectacular, and the features are complete. Any college football fan who likes the play of Madden will love this game. Just beware of Game Breaker and its incredible graphics and play coming up in a few short months. PSM final score 3.5 stars, another great game for Madden fans. Treasures of the Deep. Black Ops shooters just keep getting better. After Job Warrior and Black Dawn, Treasures of the Deep offers a welcome break from the unfriendly skies. It plummets players far below the ocean surfaces as a freelance salvage undersea military operative. As a deepwater specialist, you pilot a series of 8 subs from a cockpit or chase view perspective on several varied missions. Each of the 14 levels, including secret and bonus levels, offers a new and exciting objective, but be it destroying weapons or on a sunken cargo ship, capturing Aztec gold from sunken tombs, or recovering bodies from a crashed airliner in the Bermuda Triangle. The danger comes from enemies like subs, sharks, and strong currents that smash your sub into reefs. With plenty of enemies on hand and little side jobs, netting endangered species earning you cash, the levels never get boring. But what really makes Treasures special is the attention to detail in each environment. The undersea world in Treasures is a living place, and each level remarkably reflects unique marine cultures. Complementing these assets are numerous weapons, helpful equipment power-ups, and a tight control system. Altogether, these positive attributes make Treasures of the Deep one of the more compelling PlayStation titles developed since the system's launch. Other undersea wannabe games will have to go plenty deep to top this one. PSM final score 4.5 out of 5 stars. The sub-game to end all sub-games. Tecmo Stackers, just like the guys, just a Puyo Puyo clone, whatever. Jurassic Park: The Lost World. The Lost World is both the blessing and the curse of a popular movie license. People are already familiar with the game setting and characters, but they also come in with certain expectations. Unfortunately, like many licensed titles before, The Lost World fails to deliver the same kind of thrills as its cinematic namesake. The game is a side-scrolling affair where players get to use a variety of different characters. The only problem is that leaping from platform to platform with a Velociraptor can be just as boring as with a human. Also, the game suffers from sloppy control, making the more difficult platform elements frustrating. Even with these problems, the game could have been much better if it offered players the opportunity to try something new. However, instead of offering the freedom to control any character at any time, the player is saddled with the same linear play as the multitude of side-scrollers that came before. The game does, however, offer players a variety of different gameplay options. While one level may feature traditional platform jumping action, the next may involve a straightforward high-speed dinosaur chase. Although this is not enough to lift Lost World from mediocrity, it at least livens up the action a bit. The Lost World is not all bad, and it features absolutely excellent use of sound. In the single area, the game successfully takes advantage of the film license. The soundtrack is nearly perfect, adding excitement to the otherwise dull gameplay. When the Tyrannosaurus Rex roars, it is as chillingly real as in the film. PSM final score 2.5 stars out of 5. The action may put you to sleep, but the soundtrack will definitely keep you up. Ogre Battle. Console strategy RPGs have always been very difficult to pull off successfully. This is largely due to the fact that the storyline can be difficult to develop in a game that is mostly based on combat, statistics, and character levels. Strategy RPGs also have a tendency to become either too cumbersome and insanely stat-oriented, or overly simplify, leaving the gamer with a thirst for strategy bored to death. Ogre Battle actually manages to balance the levels in the majority of all these important categories quite gracefully. The fun of the game lies in the tactical aspects. You're the leader of a group of rebels seeking to liberate the land from the clutches of a corrupt empire. Sounds simple enough, but the actual crux of gameplay involves the liberation of towns and temples, the recruitment of sometimes hostile forces to join your cause, the acquisition of sacred items, and intricate strategies to boost your troop statistics for victory. The overall tactical strengths of the game include constant monitoring of environment and an awareness of all the different factors that go into managing your forces. Unfortunately, with all the emphasis being placed on such tactical aspects of gameplay, the game's antiquated graphics and speed suffer from a merely satisfactory port from 16-bit to 32-bit. Basically, it's the same exact game from the Super NES brought over onto CD format, which means there is little difference except for the pesky loading times. Bummer. Budget spells in combat are about a minute diversion from the disappointing flatness of the rest of the game's visuals. While the length and scope of the game will please those looking for a tactical immersive gaming experience, the story does tend to falter at points, leaving weaknesses in the plot and aimlessness in the characters. Fans of the old Super NES ogre battle and strategy enthusiasts should definitely give this game a look. Just be aware that the weaknesses and limitations of the 16-bit version are still lurking in this latest translation. PSM final score 3, decent RPG blast from the past. So is this literally the same game that came out on the SNES? It is. It very much is. Alright. Come out on PlayStation and Saturn too. And Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together is the sequel to it, all supported to both the Saturn and the PlayStation. Though I think the first one came for both Super Nintendo and PlayStation. The second one only was released for the Super Nintendo in Japan, it looks like. Yep, only the PlayStation version was released in the US. Gran Turismo we're gonna skip, it's just another racing game. And I'm gonna read Fantastic Four because I'm really intrigued by this terrible final score. Every now and then, a game comes along that simply amazes you. Fantastic Four is such a game, but for all the wrong reasons. Without a doubt, this title is one of the worst games ever made for the PlayStation. The gameplay is unforgivable, showing off the worst that side-scrollers have to offer, and the graphics are a feeble blend of poorly animated sprites and dull environments. Can you say stinky? The music is catchy but entirely inappropriate for the on-screen action. Worst of all the characters have weak superpowers that force them to spend most of their time punching and kicking rather than doing what they do best. The only joy during the gameplay is making the players turn away from the action and boogie down to the funky soundtrack. Perhaps the only other good thing that can be said about the title is that it has a mini racing game during the loading screens. These brief races are the game's most enjoyable element. Other than that, there is little in Fantastic Four worth talking about. PSM final score, half a star. An utter dismal and insulting action game. Fantastic Four game, 1997. It's a Final Fight lookalike. And it's very interesting. The French publications, Console Plus and jeuxvideo.com, both gave it a score in the 80s, and everyone else was like, no, this game's shit. This game is absolute shit. Just funny. Flashback. Ever wonder how the games of the past would do if compared to today's latest hits? Wonder no longer, as PSM is going back to dig out some of the PlayStation's classic games. We'll replay them to see if they still have what it takes to be a number one, and then we'll rescore them to today's standards. How do they compare? Find out. Project Horned Owl. One of the first available gun games, Horned Owl was a blessing for a lot of PlayStation owners. Features a silky smooth 3D environments, cool enemies, and some fairly impressive anime cutscenes. It also didn't hurt that the character designs were done by none other than Masamune Shirow, creator of such anime classics as Appleseed and Ghost in the Shell. Well, it's been almost a year now, and while our very few gun games have been released, Horned Owl is definitely showing its age. Games such as Die Hard Trilogy have gone over the top, and with games like Time Crisis coming out soon, there is little room for even second-rate titles. Granted, Horned Owl does have a really good two-player mode, but the gameplay is basic even for a shooter. It looks like it's time for the owl to be put to rest. Original score 3 stars, new score 2 stars. Aquanaut's Holiday. While Aquanaut's Holiday is not a game in the traditional sense, it certainly provided many a gamer with hours of relaxing fun. Basically a fish simulation, it lets you explore the ocean and meet various marine life forms. In fact, the game has more than 120 creatures, ranging from manta rays to sharks for you to discover. Even to this day, most people don't know what to think of Holiday. It may seem like a mindless game with no purpose. When you spend some time with it, you'll find out that it actually is a mindless game with no real purpose. It's just fun, and no other game has ever captured the sense of exploration and tranquility that it has. If you're looking for a different style of gameplay, then Aquanaut's Holiday may be your bag. There's certainly nothing else like it out there. Original score 4 stars, current score 3 stars. King of Fighters. King of Fighters 95 featured the largest collection of characters ever found in a single fighting game, 24 in all. What sold it though was its unique team combat system. You could choose up to 3 characters and create a custom team to fight with. If one of your characters got beat, then another one would jump in to continue. That was unheard of at the time. Now fighting titles litter the field, and it takes more than one unique feature to win the hearts of gamers. Sure, King of Fighters 95 still plays really well and the graphics are decent, but the loading time is completely unbearable. You could probably fight 2 rounds of Street Fighter Alpha in the time it takes for this game to load up a match. However, if you're looking for a budget fighting game, then this is your ticket, as it retails for only $29.99. Original score 4 stars, new score 3 stars. Alright, and that will wrap up the review portion of today's magazine. Looking forward at 60 minutes this way. We're going to skip Croc and Abe, since we have played them before. And Treasures of the Deep. We will definitely check out Castlevania, Clock Tower, and Parappa the Rapper. I'll see about the rest. I'll probably light up at the very end in the bonus section the Fantastic Four game because it's so bad. Nothing. I guess we should probably check out Bushido Blade with a 4.5 stars. I'm not a fighting game fan. I don't know. I don't know that 1 hour is enough. It's gonna be. I don't know that I'll be able to withstand playing this game for 1 hour, but I guess we should try because of the high score. That's probably gonna do it. Maybe check out again Warcraft 2 just to see how bad the controls actually are. Alright, moving on to the preview section. Starting with what is, for me, ultimately, the PlayStation 1 #1 title. Metal Gear Solid. 10 years after the debut of the original Metal Gear, it's about to come back with a vengeance. It's been 10 long years since the first Metal Gear first wowed gamers with its original premise and gameplay. Although the game was originally developed for the short-lived MSX computer in Japan, most fans were introduced to it via the 8-bit Nintendo version. A sequel, Snake's Revenge, also appeared on both those platforms. If you thought those games were good, wait until you see what Metal Gear looks like on the PlayStation. The extra horsepower has made it possible to play the game as it should have always been played, in a completely realistic 3D environment. It's rich with secret rooms, back hallways, and hidden tunnels for a hero to sneak his way through. The key is to use your wits, not your muscle. Make no mistake, when this game hits in early '98, expect it to be a revolutionary smash the size of Tomb Raider, possibly even bigger. This is the game where Kojima was probably at his best. Because this is the game when he still had some parameters put on him by Konami. Metal Gear Solid was so good that he got given carte blanche for Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. And he just kept adding and adding and... I don't know, nothing... Like, I enjoy all of the Metal Gear games. Nothing ever quite hits the highs of the things that Metal Gear Solid does. If we were to rank all the PlayStation games, I think it would probably be ranked number one. Time to take action. Normally, your goal is to stick to the shadows and stay hidden. Sometimes, though, push comes to shove, and for one reason or another, you have to go on the offensive. When the bullets start flying, Metal Gear really shines with realistic, explosive, heart-pounding action. Solid Snake is equipped with loads of state-of-the-art weapons, many of which he picks up along the way. The coolest bit comes when you get to place plastic explosives at strategic spots through the base, and make the whole thing go boom. Just who are these guys? Ever since the first Metal Gear, the storyline has played a major part. Expect plenty of interesting subplots and probably a little backstabbing. Ocelot, the boss. I'm surprised that there's a Shinkawa Codex style portrait of the boss, because he was never actually in Codec conversations. Not the boss, Dick Boss. God, this game is so cool. Nightmare Creatures. Get ready to kick some serious monster butt in 10th century England. If you can picture a game that melds aspect of exploration, brutal fighting brutal fighting moves, and a setting straight out of a Bram Stoker horror novel, then you have a pretty good idea of what to expect from Nightmare Creatures. You control either a priest named Ignatius or a young woman named Nadia, and must embark on a mission to make the streets safe from the horrific creations of a madman. The game features some nicely detailed and genuinely creepy monsters. You dispatch these fiends in rather creative ways, such as lobbing off their arms and legs and setting them on fire, not for the faint of heart. A number of combos and special moves are also at your disposal, along with weapons like buzzsaws and hand grenades. However, fighting isn't the only task at hand, plenty of puzzle elements should keep you coming back. If development continues to go well, then we'll all be in for a special treat come this Halloween. Also, this makes more sense. 19th century England. A madman named Crowley is your arch enemy. He's the leader of the Brotherhood of Hekaki, and those guys are never up to any good. This is one I would definitely try. I don't think it ended up being particularly good, but I would try it. Nuclear Strike. The Strike team returns with the latest chapter in the ongoing fight against international terrorism. Soviet Strike, the fourth game in Electronic Arts' superb Strike series, deftly blended action and solid graphics with strategy and resource management. Nuclear Strike returns to the same formula. While it doesn't stray too far from the original's mark, it does offer new elements to warrant your excitement. First and foremost, Nuclear Strike lets you pilot more than just helicopters. Sure, you've got your choice of choppers, but you've also got a hovercraft, tanks, and even a vertical takeoff. A vertical takeoff Harrier. The vehicles are placed strategically throughout the missions, but you can call your trusty chopper back once you're done. Again, AI plays a huge role in the game, with the battlefield carrying on around you even when you're not there to watch it happen. If you don't carry out your assigned missions in the correct order and time, those hostages may be executed or the convoy may not make it. It's the beat the clock aspect of the game that makes it so compelling and so hard to put down. With its huge levels and tough missions, Nuclear Strike looks to appeal to anyone who loved Soviet Strike. Unobtrusive FMV. If used correctly, FMV isn't always a bad thing. Like Soviet Strike before it, Nuclear Strike makes excellent use of its unobtrusive FMV segments, furthering the plot artistically and stylishly. You get news reports from the heart of the action. Run through the jungle and to the city. Not all of Nuclear Strike takes place in the jungle. Sure, some of it is you terraforming Southeast Asia, but you also get to cruise through the cities of Korea. Keep an eye out for the pseudo-communist billboards. This is probably a fun time. Like, not a particularly complex game, but fun one. And I'm gonna skip this driving game. And this Marvel Superheroes game by Capcom, it's fine. This looks more interesting. 1. Extreme explosions, special effects, and maximum carnage. Exactly 40 years into the future, John Kane wakes up with no memories and with his left arm replaced by a metal cannon. Ouch! What a way to start the day. John is understandably very upset. It's his rage that pushes him forward, making him destroy everything in his path while he tries to learn anything of his past. This lone driving emotion is what gives the game its name. You'll take Kane through a series of 5 huge fast-paced levels. The action has some 3D platform element, but the gameplay will mostly consist of running as fast as you can while trying to kill everybody in sight. Kane has a huge arsenal of moves, including rolls, flips, hanging, climbing, sliding, and double jumps. A variety of destructive toys will also be added to his list of weapons as he progresses, like flamethrowers and missile launchers. The most innovative part of the game will be the Rage Meter, which replaces the traditional health bar. The more you destroy, the more rage you gain, and you get more powerful abilities. Despite this new twist, once really just a traditional blast 'em up taken to the extreme. If you're a hardcore adrenaline junkie, then keep both eyes on this one. Hopefully we'll be able to give you a review next month. Armored Core. Build and pilot your own customized mech. Notice that developed by From Software instead of From Software, because they're like, what does From mean? That's funny. With an unprecedented number of ways to customize your mech and designs by Shoji Kawamori of Macross fame, Armored Core may just be the best mech combat game ever. Armored Core features a large variety of missions ranging from protecting military convoys to destroying enemy bases. If you finish each mission successfully, you will earn money that can be used to upgrade your mech. This is where the game really shines. The customization mode in AC is second to none. Gamers will be able to build a completely original mech designed to their liking. Choose whatever head, torso, arms, and legs you want, and combine it with your own paint scheme or personal logo. As if that wasn't enough, Armored Core also features an extremely impressive 2-player combat mode. You and a friend can do split-screen battle to see whose mech is really the best. That's not how you spell whose. The fighting areas in AC are also large and extremely detailed. Armored Core seems to have it all, and then some. It's about time that a game like this was developed, and you can be sure that you'll be hearing more about here at PSM in the coming months. What else has split screen? Yeah, another Street Fighter game. Since the release of this is Street Fighter EX Plus. Since the release of Street Fighter II, Capcom has established itself as the leading developer of 2D fighting games. Wanting to dominate the 3D market as well, it had to develop a new type of Street Fighter. Titled Street Fighter EX Plus, this marks the first SF game to feature polygonal characters. Most of your favorites return, including Ryu, Chun-Li, and Guile, and they've brought along a host of cool newcomers such as D-Dark, Hokuto, and Skullomania. The game has over 23 characters in all, including 7 hidden ones. Aside from the 3D character designs, EX Plus also features some rather innovative gameplay elements. A guard break move has been included, which you can use to penetrate through any block. Hit your opponents with it, and they will stagger back, allowing your time to pull off a devastating combo. Another new feature is the redesigned fighting system. Much like in Street Fighter III, characters can interrupt a special move with a super combo move. For example, Ryu can perform a regular fireball followed immediately by a super fireball. With so many possibilities, you can come up with some spectacular combos. All the standard extras are here as well, including a much-needed practice and expert training mode. EX Plus may just be one of the best Street Fighter games ever, and will certainly please fans looking for something a little bit different. Innovative combo systems. And you cancel a super move into a super combo move. Kind of looks like shit, to be perfectly honest, but secret characters, so secret that they tell you all about them. Akuma, Evil Ryu, Evil Hokuto, M. Bison, Garuda, cycloid beta, and cycloid gamma, which are just wireframes. I guess there may be like Yoshimitsu style things. Wait, what? Batman and Robin. Disappointed the Batman title so far. Batman and Robin is looking to change all that. Based on how good the movie was, I'm gonna guess that this one also didn't hit. Yep. Not good. Game rankings aggregator 47%. Boy. Batman has had a rough run in video games for several years now. Previous titles featuring the Dark Knight were generally derivative side-scrollers that had him working his way through dull adventures, kicking and punching anything that came toward him. Batman and Robin promises to leave those uninspired platform titles far behind. In fact, this is the first time the world's greatest detective actually gets to do what he does best, detective work. The title is set in full 3D world, with events take place in real time. If Batman takes too much time to solve a crime in one section of the city, he might miss another one. Eventually, the dynamic duo run into Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze, and it gets tough. There are several intriguing new weapons for you to use. For instance, the chopping blade launcher fires sharp blades cut through Poison Ivy's evil shrubbery, and the polar assault missile is perfect against Mr. Freeze's minions. With these new options and a fully 3D Gotham to explore, Acclaim may just have its hands on the first Batman title worth bragging about. Is this the movie? At quick glance, you may mistake some parts of the game for a real movie, since most of the graphics are to be taken straight from the film. No, I will not. It's interesting that they actually got George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell to pose for the models. Is anything more 90s coded than a video game character posing in a sexy bikini outfit? Pandemonium 2. When the first Pandemonium came out, it followed the adventures of a young girl named Nikki and a half-insane jester named Fargus. In Pandemonium 2, the clown is still half-insane. Nikki, however, is all grown up, with all new powers and an entirely different, more shapely look. If you know what we mean. Graphics are grown up as well, featuring wider worlds and more lively action. Crystal dynamics give the characters fast-moving, high-jumping powers that send them in new brightly colored, multi-level worlds. Once again, the characters can only move along a set path. This is actually helpful, as each level twists and turns so sharply that it would be near impossible to stay on the course otherwise. Fargus can now use his clown head on a stick as a projectile weapon, and Nikki has a new double jump that lets her leap over the most difficult obstacles. Nikki has also mastered the use of fire in some attacks. However, when her imbalanced compatriot tries the same, he ends up lighting himself ablaze. Other than the more colorful levels and more developed characters, the gameplay is pretty much like the first. The question that will face this title is whether or not the changes are enough to drop players back into the world of Pandemonium. From what I believe, and I'm not going to check to correct this assumption, but I think the first Pandemonium is a bit of a cult classic. Second one, not looked upon with the same love, is what I believe. Again, what's most nice that this very comfortable position for the Ghost in the Shell character to be having. This looks like a bad tank game. I'm good. Oh, it's so cute. Look at how these look. It's so fucking funny. Formula 1 Championship Edition. The super realistic racer is back with loads more horsepower. The first Formula 1 was easily one of the most realistic racing games available for the PlayStation. It seemed to have all the features a gamer could ever hope for and more. Well, Psygnosis has taken the game back to the drawing board and enhanced it for the 97 racing season. Aside from all the new stats and drivers, gamers will probably notice a vast improvement in the graphics and frame rate. The game now runs at a much higher resolution, so all the tracks and cars look extremely sharp and clear. Weather and lighting effects have all been refined, except the camera angles, in an effort to provide an even more realistic racing experience. If any complaints could be made about the first game, it would have to be that the handling of the race cars took some getting used to. With the addition of a more forgiving arcade mode, this should no longer be a problem. Gamers can now jump straight into the race if they choose to, without having to go through a long list of options. Simulation fans need not worry either, as Cygnus has built upon the existing Grand Prix mode and made it even better. Virtually every aspect of the game can now be adjusted, ranging from steering assistance to suspension resistance. The track tutorial has even been provided to walk gamers through the more difficult options. Looks like Formula 1 Championship Edition is something for everyone. If the gameplay is as solid and as balanced as the first game, then the sequel could easily make it to the top of this year's racing circuit. NHL 98. New additions and a better engine promise a return to glory for EA. The 32-bit life of this outstanding series has been less than stellar, but all could be well if EA can return to form this year. The fate of the NHL series now rests in the capable hands of the hockey fanatics at EA Canada, which finally gets a shot at the PlayStation version after creating last year's outstanding PC product. The game is still in true 3D, but the entire engine was thrown out for a new, better, and faster one. Suffice it to say, NHL 98 is doing a much better feel, not to mention more speed and fun. Another big addition for 98 are the now standard coaching options to let players set up standard NHL offenses and defenses. The usual style is being put into the presentation to ensure that NHL 98 will be one of the most complete packages out there. The return of the one-timers and high-speed gameplay makes NHL 98 the best since 95, and if the developers can finish off the game nicely, it could be the best NHL ever. Now that's saying something. There's a checking engine in the game, apparently. Bad brawler by THQ. It's fine, actually. It looks potentially maybe a little problematic even. And a Motor Racer GP game. Yeah. Ooh, Mega Man X4 though. Hot with the success of Mega Man 8, Capcom is at it again with another, even bigger, Mega Man adventure. Throughout the ages of 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit games, Mega Man has always been a staple icon of quality and top-notch action. Each incarnation of the robotic hero has brought newer and cooler bosses and weapons for fans to discover, and it looks like X4 will do no different. Gamers will be able to choose between playing as Mega Man or Zero, and the storyline changes depending on which hero you pick. Characters' ability differ as well. Mega Man is a standard quick shot, which allows him to attack distant enemies, and Zero is a multi-energy hit whip, which can only be used up close. X4 pretty much follows the standard set in the previous Mega Man games. Gamers will have to challenge 8 initial bosses, and a few more after that. Mini-bosses are also present to give gamers more of a challenge in mid-level. The game features such varied environments as volcanoes, icy polar region, and even high-tech trains. Fortunately, not all of your traveling is on foot, as most of the levels are extremely long. Mega Man sports all the latest hardware, from rocket-powered jet skis to mech suits, all to aid him in his journey. At first glance, Mega Man X4 certainly looks good enough to keep the franchise thriving. Next up, Mega Man Neo. 3D action, anyone? This might be a reference to Mega Man Legends, as they will eventually call it. Mexico can hot lava, and I can check out the path down there. Zero's blade can clear out tunnels. Yeah, I got a bunch of mechs and jet skis and things like that. Each level in Mega Man 4 features some industrially mini-boss. They normally aren't that tough as long as you know their weakness. The Snow Claw mini-boss looks menacing, but if you can easily defeat him with some well-placed hits, watch out for falling icicles. It is true that the bosses keep getting more bizarre with each game. Maybe a little too much, if you ask me. Now we got a basketball game by Midway. Visual Concepts, is this the same that is still working? Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. They're the ones that made Clay Fighter and a bunch of other stuff. And now they're doing the WWE and the NBA 2K games. Wow, there's literally a direct connection of NBA games. I guess starting with NBA 2K onwards. Made by Visual Concepts. That's funny. Sports fan may remember Visual Concepts as one of the premier EA Sports developers way back in the 16-bit era. Now the company is on its own and hard at work on its first 32-bit Hoops game. If nothing else, Hardwood Heroes serves as another blow to Sega's poor Saturn. Visual Concepts is making the same game for the Sega, however it will be the only Hoops game on the Saturn, and the graphics are way chunkier. Hardwood Heroes is a 5-on-5 basketball simulation that features all the real players, except the usual MIAs, Sir Charles, Michael, and Shaq, teams, and uniforms. The graphics are mind-blowing, but they are easily as good as most other basketball games. Beyond good looks, Visual Concepts is trying to take the control and AI to the next level. With more options on offense, you can now back down players and pull a variety of post moves. This option has been sorely missing from the other b-ball games to date, but Hardwood Heroes doesn't pull it off quite as well as we had hoped. The early versions we've been testing at several AI holes, and the animations for jump shots need an awful lot of work. If Hardwood Heroes is going to compete with the other top basketball games on the PlayStation, it's definitely going to need a bit more work before its release. Visual Concepts was acquired by Sega in 1999, which is why it started developing the 2K series for the Dreamcast, and only for the Dreamcast. And then eventually it was, I believe, sold back. Test Drive 4. So this model in Accolade's Legendary Racing series comes fully loaded. Since the original test drive in 1987, in 1987, wow, what was that even on? Test drive key. For the Amiga. Then ported to everything else, but originally for the Amiga. Ooh. That 4-color, man. That was something. The series has become the top-selling driving game franchise of all time. The simple premise of racing exotic sports car on public streets and highways is still a huge draw, and has influenced several of today's other racers, most notably the Need for Speed series. 10 years later, Accolade is rolling out Test Drive 4, Beauty and the Beast, and it's for the PlayStation. And even better, the developers Pitbull Syndicate are made up of the core developers from the Reflections team. That is the same team responsible for the incredible Destruction Derby 2. The game's theme is Beauty and the Beast, which refers to beauties, modern supercars like the 1988 Dodge Viper, or a group of beasts, raw power from the past like the 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda 426. The 6 incredibly detailed courses are each based on actual roads and locales. The final product will boast a smoking 30 FPS and will be linkable. There will also be limited 2-player mode in which you race against a friend's ghost car and time. Unfortunately, no split screen is in the plans for now, but so far, the game still smokes. Beasts are muscle cars, I guess. The Bug Riders. Oh, is this like a Panzer Dragoon-like? GT Interactive gets weird on us with the most unusual racer ever. No, it's a racer. Don't roll out the flypaper just yet. GT Interactive's new racing game may feature Nature's Nuisances, But despite the icky subject matter, Bug Riders looks pretty good so far. It all goes down like this. The planet Endymion is looking for a new emperor. The current ruler, Emperor Leptus, is on the brink of death. You must find a successor. However, the job description says you gotta know how to ride bugs. So to separate the good from the bad, Leptus holds a major event, the Great Race, that will test the abilities of all who enter. Okay, so we're really into story anyway. Just race. Riding a variety of bugs that each possess unique characteristics, you'll bust through 6 tracks that cover a variety of world terrains, including violent oceans, sweltering jungles, and even the insides of a castle. Combat will also decide whether or not you're fit for a king, or if you're simply bug food. Bug Riders will feature over 22 characters, who each possess their own weapons and racing styles. Another Bug Riders innovation is the whip that you use. Much like a horse race, players must whip their bugs to increase speed and performance, but you have to be careful not to whip them too much, as your endurance will decrease. So be nice to the bugs, eh? With luck, Bug Riders will offer a fun and unique alternative to standard racers, so for now, put the spice waters and repellents away. Alright, and that wraps up the preview section as well. We're gonna skip the description of all the various accessories because I believe these are mostly like joypads and things like that. Also, this is so confusing how it's organized. Like, it's not alphabetical. It's not by grade, though the top honors get mentioned. I was curious if they're showing the NegCon we talked about last time. There it is. It's funny. Jersey Devil. Alright, we're entering the strategy. We're mostly done, I think, with this issue. We'll read the mail, but, there's the strategy for the Clock Tower walkthrough, which we might refer to. I'll keep this in mind when we play the game for 60 minutes this way, if I get stuck. Parappa the Rapper. Are you cool enough to get to the screen? As you get cool in each of the levels, crown icons will appear next to the stages in the stage select icon. When you get cool on every level and under a screen full of crowns, you become King of the Master Rappers. The option will appear, but hey, our leaps are sealed. Just don't forget, you gotta believe! Then we have some tips on Castlevania endings. But let me see, maybe there's actually some information here. Oh, apparently your starting stats depend on how well you beat Dracula as Richter. The inverted castle, that's fine. Different endings, that's fine. Telescope doesn't do anything. Hmm. The watch. Okay, this is the one that always confuses me. To activate one of the watch passages, you just wait. The other one, you need to use the time freeze function. And in the confession booth, you need to stand in front of the chair in the left to get something good. And then some tips to get a complete game and stuff. Complete item list with their effects. That's cool. And then the disc 2 and 3 strategy guide for Final Fantasy VII. Very broadly, because like look at how little we actually write for each section. So why did they write Wutai? Not Wutai. Maybe this is a guide that they built before the game was out in the US and localization changed slightly. What is Wutai called in the Japanese version? FF7 wiki doesn't really have information about it. Okay. I'll give up on it, I guess. Bushido Blade 2? Damn. All the guides for all the games that I want to play today. Lorena Tushin 2. Mr. Bros Collection. Exit cheat menu. Ooh, a cheat to get 255 of any item. Manipulating some code there, actually. Crazy. Alright, letters. PSM is okay, blah, blah, blah. PlayStation upgrade. Is the rumored Type-C going to be an add-on to the PlayStation or the whole new system? Will it be able to play existing PlayStation games? Nick Perry. When will the PlayStation upgrade be released and how much will it cost? Sam Bergman. I just wanted to know if SCEA is ever going to make a chip that will upgrade the PlayStation. I want to see if games like 2 Extreme and Tekken 2 would look better or go faster. Thanks, Ayub Wright. Steve. Sorry guys, there is not going to be a PlayStation upgrade. There's simply no point for Sony to release any sort of add-on, considering how successful the current console is. The Type-C upgrade was basically a media-enhanced rumor that never had any real foundation in truth. As for Sony's next console system, I'm just as excited as you are about it, but we'll just have to be patient and see what happens. Also consider this, with games like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil 2 coming out, the PlayStation is still showing that it has a lot of life left in it. 1998 is going to be a hot year for Sony, and it probably will be the best time to be a PlayStation owner. I am curious if the supposed no 2D policy by Sony is really the case. Let's see, we've got Oddworld, Castlevania, and Skull Monkeys all due by Christmas. And we can't forget Marvel Superheroes and whatever other 2D fighters Capcom cares to port over. Doesn't sound like a 2D embargo to me. What's your opinion? Stephen A. Brezel. Steve. Sony has claimed repeatedly that it doesn't have a 2D specific policy, and that is and that it isn't biased. Sorry, I lost it. It isn't biased against the game just because it is in 3D. To Sony's defense, tons of 2D games are being released for the PlayStation, and it doesn't look to change in the near future. Unfortunately, that doesn't really answer the question of why some developers claim to have so much trouble getting certain 2D games approved by Sony, most notably the Mega Man titles. Sony, however, continues to deny any such bias. The only thing we can figure is that Sony's quality assurance team simply doesn't think the Mega Man games are any good. Go figure. This letter concerns the future of gaming. People rant and rave about Sony not doing this game right or that game right, but let's face it. What they do wrong, they improve upon in the future, thus giving us the best games ever created. I mean, come on, look at the games today from 1 year ago. It's amazing to see how far games have come since then. And these console wars are giving us gamers the best games ever. Look at Suikoden, for example. Great RPG. Now look at Final Fantasy VII. Awesome. Look at the level of improvement that's been achieved in under a year. The same thing can be said of the upgrade from Twisted Metal 1 to Twisted Metal 2. The advancement is unreal. People need to quit complaining and start looking at the way games are improving now and will continue to improve in the future. Joshua Romero. Noah. You have some extremely good points, Joshua. Both Sony and the third-party companies have in many cases learned from mistakes made on earlier titles, with the sequels greatly improving on the originals. It is mostly due, not how you spell do. Man, the copy editors were really not working seriously at this magazine, huh? Due to the developers' increasing familiarity with how to design for the PlayStation, along with a better understanding of its amazing capabilities. I have been a gamer since the days of Pong. Yes, I am 35 years old, and I can honestly say that I have owned or played at least one game on every system that has been released since then. I play games for one reason, the sheer fun of it. I remember playing electric football games, having to line up the players after each play, and wishing there were an easier way to put myself out there on the field. My point is this. Are we living in great times or what? With the PlayStation, I really can put myself out there. For all the people who review games for a living and say, this or that could be better, remember the days of the electric football game. I'm not saying we should be happy with so-so games, I'm saying this. We are very lucky today to be able to live our fantasy of our youth through these silicon athletes. What the companies are putting out is fantastic, and I for one will be a gamer until it's over. I really appreciate the quality of games released over the last few years, and I just want the industry to know that not all consumers are looking for perfection, just a great experience. Robert Morris. From his work address, I think, which is funny. Chris. So what you're saying is, what exactly were you saying? You don't want us to call a crap game crap, but you also want us to lay off developers and just be happy with what we've got, no matter how good it is? Well, at least it sounds like you're having fun. Okay, look, I think your magazine will reign supreme in the magazine wars. I love you, Chris Slate, when you were at UGP. By the way, I just got the 100th issue. It is great. Enough with the babble saying you're godlike. Now to the real questions, the real reason why I wrote. I have a few cues to ask you. Is it possible that Sony Square could bring over Tobal 2 in Japanese form? They don't have to translate anything, just let us run it on our US PlayStations. That would be awesome. Many people would still buy it. 2. Do you know if Diablo will ever be ported from the PC to the PlayStation? If so, when? 3. What kind of adult scenes will be in Final Fantasy VII? 4. Chris, what kind of devious plans are you up to at PSM? Patrick Klepek. Oh, that's funny. I believe that is the Patrick Klepek journalist that is currently working at Remap Radio, among others. That's gotta be him, right? How many Patrick Klepek would there be? He would be of age to write in magazines at this time. Chris, Magazine Wars? You love me? Calm down, dude. Sure, PSM is great, but it's still only a magazine. 1. I'd buy it, but Sony would never release a game in Japanese over here in the US. Things just don't look good for US Tobal 2 fans. 2. No word yet, but it would be cool even without network play. 3. Nothing too spicy, but it's completely uncensored, so there's still the whole scene where, I'll just let you find out. 4. The devious plans yet, just the honest law-abiding ones. Hey PSM, I want to say hello and congrats on starting a new magazine devoted to the best system currently on Earth. I've got a question for Chris. Why did you decide to go to a PlayStation-only magazine when you've proclaimed your love for Nintendo publicly in the past? Moving on, your magazine is sure to be a real treat. The PlayStation is a true testament to the video game world. Sony, whom, let's face it, was not the best company video game was before the PS. I mean, were they a video game company at all? But anyways. Has come out with an extremely superb video game console. Has caused the fall of Sega in the 32-bit race, and is currently beating up on Nintendo. All this in a 2-year time period. Wow. So, I say it's about time we have PSM. The system deserves an honorable and reputable magazine publisher behind it. Imagine is just that. Welcome to the world, PSM, and thank you. Chris. Sniff, sniff. You just brought tears to my eyes, dude. I know that you're so excited about PSM and that you think so highly about our work in general here at Imagine. As for my proclaimed love of Nintendo, I've always been a big fan, that is, until now. After a great launch with Mario 64 and Wave Race, the Nintendo 64 has really disappointed me. Despite what Nintendo claims, it has neither quality nor quantity. Also, part of the reason I'm so into PlayStation right now is that so many of my favorite Nintendo series, like Mega Man and Castlevania, have been defecting over Sony's camp. Right now, the PlayStation is the number one place to get the most and better games from the best developers in the world. Hey, beyond any one system, I'm just a big fan of video games, and right now, the people at Sony are the only ones getting it right. The biggest strength of the PlayStation is that it has the biggest library of games, more than 150, ranging from sports to action. I'm very glad to own a PlayStation due to the sheer numbers of software the system receives. Nintendo's promises of quality over quantity, while good intentions, just don't cut it. Sometimes you just want a game to play, no matter how good or bad it is. While waiting for new software for Nintendo 64, PlayStation offers up a load of titles a month. Kudos to Sony for designing such a fine machine. Dallas Reeves. Chris. I agree that one of the things that make PlayStation so great is its huge library of games. But not because they are a good supply of bad games to play. With more developers churning out more titles for PlayStation than any other system, you're about to wind up with more great classic games. It's the frantic third-party activity that brought us games like Tomb Raider and Resident Evil. You can be sure it will continue to keep a healthy supply of quality titles headed our way for some time to come. Hey guys, have there been any Sailor Moon games made for the PlayStation? Are any of them coming to the States? James Rose. Bill. The only Sailor Moon game I can think of is the one that came a while ago called Pretty Sailor Moon Super S. However, there are no current plans to bring any Sailor Moon PlayStation games stateside. Sorry. Bad Vibrations. What's the story behind the Sony Dual Analog Pad? I heard that the feedback option won't be supported in the US. Is that true or not? Donate to share. I think it's very important for the vibrating double analog controller to be released here in the US. I heard it will be released without the force feedback feature because Nintendo is stopping that somehow. I think it should be released with the force feedback no matter what to help PlayStation stay the top gaming system. Jason Komorowski. Steve. Yes, I've heard right. The US version of the dual analog controller will not feature any kind of feedback. Bummer, huh? For the complete story, check out this month's news section. You just can't infringe your patent, Jason. That's just not how it works. I have a few questions for you guys. When is the release date for Street Fighter EX? I have to own this game. 2. Is there any Atari greatest hits coming to the PlayStation? I heard a rumor that 720 was going to be on it. I also heard that it would be compatible with a new analog controller. Is that true? 3. Please print any info concerning Metal Gear Solid. That game looks phenomenal. Tavares Thomas. Steve. Thanks for writing, Tavares. No, Tavares. On with the show. Street Fighter EX is certainly a very cool game. Chris and I have been playing it every day for the past few weeks. As for release date, it isn't set yet, but Capcom assures that it still hit stores in plenty of time for the Christmas season. 2. Not much has been revealed about the Atari compilation, but I'm hopeful. 720 would be awesome. And since Sony is pushing support for the analog controller, pretty much every future game will support it. 3. From what we've seen, Metal Gear is definitely going to be the one on the best games ever. For the latest info on the PlayStation Masterpiece, check out the in-depth preview in this very issue. I currently subscribe to the Japanese PlayStation magazine, no relation I know, to see what might possibly be coming down the pipe from developers there. It would be great if PSM covered import titles, or at least the ones that have been announced for a US port. I would also like to see in-depth coverage of the 3 big software players supporting the PlayStation: Square, Psygnosis, and EA. I'm looking forward to seeing the first issue. Paul Catrone. Bill. Sounds like you'd be interested in my Nihon Game Otaku column. I covered the latest news from Japan, spotlight groundbreaking games, and let you know what really hot titles are on the way to your local import store. Of course, by now you've seen the first issue, so you already know all about it, eh? I've heard a lot about Porsche Challenge and Rapid Racer from E3, but I've yet to see any screenshot of Rapid Racer or any previews of Porsche Challenge. What's up? Jesse Ricuso. Chris. Hopefully you caught our Porsche Challenge preview last issue. It's looking pretty good. As for Rapid Racer, we're working on getting in some new screens, so rest assured that you'll be seeing much more about this cool-looking racer soon. I'd like to know what has to be done to convince Square to release a US version of Tobal 2. I've played it and it felt overwhelmed by the gameplay, graphics, and especially the responsive control. I know someone... God, the copy edits. I know someone who rents out Japanese games and controllers. What's the guy to do to get Square's attention? Someone has to let it know how much of a mistake it's making. Chris Stoika. Chris. Different Chris. Tubal 2 has been one of the hottest topics around here. We've got buckets of mail about it, and we're only on issue 2. Believe me, I've talked to people from both Square and Sony, and I've done everything I could to try and convince them otherwise. Unfortunately, it looks like you're just gonna have to you're just gonna have to stick with your import. Did Tubal 2 not come out stateside? Oh no, it wasn't. Pretty good game too. 200 characters. Quest mode. Actually seems pretty fucking amazing. Huh. Might need to check if there's a fan translation of it. That'd be cool. PlayStation rules. I bought my PlayStation last August and I've had nothing but fun ever since then. I have some questions for the guide PSM. Here goes. 1. When will Tomb Raider 2 come out and will there be any special features not seen on the original? 2. I have seen Tekken 3 in arcades and it is amazing. Will the PlayStation graphics be comparable to this or will there be graphical upgrade packing? 3. What do you know about the PlayStation modem? Will Jet Moto 2 be the first game for it? 4. Is Single Track Gaming Gods developing any games at the moment? Thank you for your time, and I hope you can answer all my questions. P.S. That to all Italian plumbers. Michael Frick. Steve. Thanks for writing, Michael. Let's see if I can answer some of your questions. 1. Tomb Raider 2 is still slated for a November release. As for new features, Tomb Raider 2 features 2 new costumes for Lara, new items such as flares, and even larger levels than its predecessor. But you read all that in our first issue, right? 2. It is widely rumored that Namco may release a hardware upgrade for Tekken 3, but I believe it won't have to. Tekken 2 only used about 30-40% of the PlayStation's potential, so developers should be able to port Tekken 3 over without too much of a problem. Namco hasn't failed us yet. 3. The PlayStation modem is another one of those rumors that has been brought to life by the media. Sony has no current plans for a modem, and considering how poorly the Saturn Netlink has sold, I can certainly understand why. Still, you can't rule anything out for the future. 4. Single Track is currently working hard on the sequel to Jet Moto and is looking pretty good. Let's go back one page to read the Ask Sony, which I assume has them actually forward these to Sony Press. No, what's it called? Public Relations to see if they answer. Dear Sony, why don't you make a larger memory card similar to those made by Interact? How much would it cost? Jens Kroner. The memory card in question is not an officially licensed PlayStation peripheral, which means it has not gone through the vigorous testing and quality assurance procedures necessary for a mass-market release. Since no game requires more than 15 blocks to save its information, we feel that a standard memory card for PlayStation is satisfactory for this purpose. How much did a PS1 memory card cost? Or I guess I should say original price. Around $20. You know, the response is just like, oh, any game only uses at most 15, so just buy one for every new game is the implication. I'm just like, that's kind of shitty, dude. Dear Sony, I've heard rumors of a PlayStation 64 or something like that, and that it uses a DVD-ROM. Is it true? And would the DVD-based system be able to play movies? How much would it cost? Chris Hines. Whenever the PlayStation 2 comes out here in the US, will it be able to play more PlayStation games on it? And will the original PlayStation be getting a special add-on? Thanks, Christian Rubin de Celis. Sony Computer Entertainment America has no plans to introduce any new hardware systems or upgrades for PlayStation at this time. We are proud of the success of the PlayStation and realize that the product has a long life ahead of it. I just want to know what the official word is. You know what? Let me skim through these first. Bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, this actually, let me read through this one. Dear Sony, how about Netya Rose? When looking at it, it looks tempting to buy, but the price is expensive. I have a few questions to ask. Can I play regular PlayStation games on it? Is it like the gray PlayStation? When you turn it on, you get a screen with a memory card and a CD player thing? What language can the work be made in? One of the benefits of the Nectarosy PlayStation is that it can be used as a regular gaming system. The retail gray North American PlayStation hardware unit can only play commercially developed PlayStation game titles from licensed PlayStation developers and publishers. The Erosi hardware offers no territorial lockout, so it can play both PAL, Europe, and NTSC, Japan, US PlayStation discs. 2. Yes, you still have the main menu screen to select from. 3. To benefit the most from the support library included with the system, we recommend having a basic knowledge of the C programming language. And this one is another PR bullshit. Most of these are just PR bullshit things, which, you would expect when you send questions to PR. Why are so many of the newer games not released with the Link module? Many games would have benefited, such as Destruction Derby 2, Ridge Racer, V-Rally, Rallycross, Tokyo Highway Battle, and any other single-player split-screen motorsport PlayStation title. It is disturbing to learn that V-Rally planned 4-player Link mode was canned as the game was released. I hear the upcoming Formula 1 Championship Edition's planned 4-player Link mode may also be dropped before its release in September-October. Why is the Link mode ignored even though it is planned when games were in development? I know that split screen may be more popular due to economics, but why not include both split screen and Link mode all in one in all motorsport titles and single-player PlayStation games? Alien Trilogy, Disruptor, Exhumed, and Resident Evil cry out for Link mode. Those who have tried it know that not even great arcade beats playing PlayStation Linked, especially with games like Formula 1. Let me read the last sentence. First of all, I don't understand what you would use the Link cable for Resident Evil, because it's not multiplayer, period. But I hope the new generation of titles will be released with both split screen and 4-player Link mode. That makes more sense now. No, it was this one. Those who have tried it know that not even arcade gaming beats playing PlayStation Linked, especially with games like Formula 1. I see. Okay. That makes sense. I hope you can answer these questions. There's direct speculation that Sony has directed game developers to avoid Link mode in their upcoming games and concentrate on other features, as Link mode will be dropped. Is this so? And if so, why? I hope the new generation of titles will be released with both split screen and 4-player Link mode. Any help reply is greatly appreciated. Pacine R54 from New Zealand. Noah, I believe some of the most fun you can have with your PSX is when it's linked. It is disappointing to see games that should be linkable that aren't. Destruction Derby 2 is the perfect example. Deadlines have been in the death for a few Link modes in the past and still seem to be now. It's the fact that the Link has not been on one of Sony's priorities, but that may change. Bushido Blade and Armor Core will be linkable, but I agree that much more can be done. The main problem is that few gamers out there own Link cables. Until there's a much wider response to them, Sony won't give them that much attention. It's up to us to preach the gospel of the combat cable and get others out there to join the cause. Get linked! The more we talk about it, the better the chance of Sony getting to the point. I have a few questions. 1. Would the GunCon be included with Time Crisis? 2. Is Time Crisis going to be a 1 or 2-player game? 3. If Time Crisis is actually going to be a 2-player game, will I be able to buy another GunCon? William Koo. Steve. Hey, Will. I'm glad to see other gun game fans are out here beside myself. As for your questions, 1. Yes, the GunCon will be included with Time Crisis. 2. The game will only be 1 player. 3. Namco probably won't be selling GunCon separately. There is no real point to, considering that only 2 compatible games will be released by the end of the year. Namco's Time Crisis and Point Blank. Thank you! Finally, there is a true PlayStation magazine. There are about 4 other PlayStation magazines that are somewhat fake. I like that you guys took this to the internet because otherwise I wouldn't have known when the mag was coming. I'll be sure to spread the news around my city, Sulphur Springs, Texas, because almost everybody got a PlayStation after I did. I encouraged them to get one over a Nintendo 64. One dude had a Nintendo 64 but took it back because everybody else had a PlayStation. I hope your mag has plenty of reviews, codes, and quality pages. So I'm writing so much, but I'm really excited about this mag. I mostly just run games, Doshinden 3, Wipeout Excel, but I am going to buy FF7. I'll be writing back soon, so until then, keep up the great work. I mean that too. Again, thanks PSM, Ernest Davis. Noel. You're the kind of guy we want to reach, Ernest. It sounds like you need to change the name of Sulphur Springs to PlayStation City. You know, you shouldn't make fun of people who are not our system, though. It's okay to check out the competition from time to time. We still all have to live together in peace, you know? It's good to hear about the craziness taking place in your PlayStation-only community. P.S. You had better be linking. Man, you know, parasocial relationship really started this early. I had a subscription to UGP, a Nintendo 64, and life was good. Then Chris Slade announced that he'd be leaving UGP for a PlayStation magazine. That was reason enough to go buy a PlayStation. And now that I have a subscription to PSM and UGP, my life is great. So Mr. Slade, or can I call you Chris? Will you be bringing over your delightful humor over to PSM? Tony for Kelly. Chris. Wow, thanks for the continued support, Tony. I'm glad you bought a PlayStation because as cool as things are at Sony right now, things are only going to heat up as we wait into 98. As for the humor, I don't think we're going to even try to be as wild as we were on UGP, but if you read between the lines a bit, I think you'll find the PSM has a personality all its own. There are even a few laughs in there too. What was UGP? UGP Gaming Magazine. Ultra Game Players. Started off as Game Players, then became Ultra Game Players, then it became Game Buyer before being cancelled. Alright. Okay. When I first heard about a new magazine that is going to be dedicated totally to the PlayStation, I just about killed myself. It's too good to be true. That's kind of humor that you had in the late 90s, I guess. Magazine about the PlayStation. Sure, some other PlayStation magazines are probably out there, but I think this one will be the best. I don't know why, but I just do. You can trust me when I say that I will be buying every single issue that comes out. I thank you for creating this awesome magazine, and I wish the best of luck to you. Chris McCree. Steve. Thanks for the word of encouragement, Chris. We're extremely excited about PSM, and glad that gamers like you are looking forward to it as well. Just don't let your joy get the best of you. What's up, PSM? I have a few questions for you. 1. What age group are you focusing on with your magazine? 2. What do you think are the main reasons why Sony is doing so well in the video game market? 3. Why do you already claim to be the #1 PlayStation magazine? Thanks for answering my questions, if you do. Kevin Sibel. Steve. What age group are you focusing on? We aren't really directing PSM at a certain age. We want to get all PlayStation fans interested. It's a PlayStation owner's mag, and that's how we want to keep it. No matter if you're 14 or 40, something in each month's issue will interest you. Sony has managed to stay #1 for two main reasons. The PlayStation has a great console systems, and its games are both fun and numerous. Why do we think we are #1? That's a good question. Perhaps it's due to the fact that PSM is already the largest and most in-depth PlayStation magazine available. We have useful features each month and the most complete listing of game codes available. Combine all that with the fact that PSM is completely independent, and you know that you will always be getting the straight scoop from us, including the stuff Sony doesn't want you to know about. Yeah, some of these are kind of lies, you know. They're definitely trying to skew younger, and then eventually, after about a year, they will realize that the PlayStation audience is older and start being a little bit more mature with the jokes that they make and things like that. And also, I guess that's because they can claim to be #1 PlayStation magazine because I don't think there's anybody regulating that. So you're just gonna put it on the cover, right? Why not? For what it's worth, I do think that PSM was the most popular PlayStation magazine throughout its run. But, you know, You're definitely advertising a little bit here, and trying to what's it called? They're trying to materialize the way that they see themselves. There's a word for that, but I can't remember it. Final letter. I just got the first issue of PSM, and let me tell you, it's great. Not only is it better than any other single console magazine, but it also smells the best. I can go on and on about how good it is. I would just like to commend you on your excellent work. I also have a question. When will Fighting Force and Resident Evil Director's Cut be released in the US? Ernie. Steve. Thanks for the comments, Ernie. We are always glad to hear from our readers. I was telling Chris that our magazine smelled good, but he thought I was crazy. What? Well, who's laughing now, Chris? As for those release dates, Fighting Force is looking like an October or November release date. Resident Evil DC should be out in September. Next month in issue 3 of PSM, Maximum Resident Evil 2 coverage. Look at this concept art of Leon and Claire. Wow. Accessorize your PlayStation Part 2, PlayStation Party games, and they're going to be reviewing, covering, Tomb Raider 2, Gex 2, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cool Borders 2, Jet Moto 2, a whole bunch of 2s. Alright, and that will do it for issue 2 of PSM. We will be back in 2 weeks with a 60 Minutes to Sway episode where we will be playing a bunch of these games. Like I mentioned, probably at least an hour each of Castlevania, Bushido Blade, Clock Tower, and Parappa. And maybe check out Warcraft 2 just to see how bad the controls are. And Fantastic Four, because half a star, I gotta play that. But otherwise, that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching / listening. I should try to release these as a podcast. Maybe that's something I should look into. What else is currently happening on the channel? This week, the conclusion to Medal of Honor Underground is going to go live on Friday, so make sure to tune in for that. We finished Shadow Man 2 weeks ago and Soul Reaver last week, so we got some brand new hidden gems and classical studies premiering in 2 and 3 weeks respectively. And then next week, part 3 of our Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition playthrough will show up. Life of Timmy is very close to wrapping up. 2 more episodes, 1 next week, 1 in 3 weeks. Make sure to check it out. Catch up if you missed it. Timmy is going to go on a break as soon as the finale airs for at least a couple of years as I build more episodes and things of the sort. For now, this is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. This is Nick, signing off, reminding everyone to let's keep retro playing together.